Hello guys, you're on my channel for the first time. I am Ngunan, Ioron-Aloho, and on this channel today I'm going to be talking to you about some of the questions that my colleagues and friends have put out for me. So again, if you're joining for the first time, I'm a project manager. I have a non-profit organization back home in Nigeria titled the Samuel Ioron Foundation, and in the UK I work with the One Campaign. In these different spaces, I kind of like design and implement projects, and it helps me to learn more about projects, and I share those experiences on my channel, including lifestyle as well. So I'm going to get into the business for today. I have 4 questions here asked by friends and colleagues, and I'm going to be answering those questions to the best of my knowledge and using some personal experiences to just share on these questions as well. So the first question here is, how do you manage conflict with stakeholders who have different opinions and priorities for a project? So it's more like you're working with different stakeholders, you're collaborating on a particular project or working with different people, and all these different people have different priorities. They have different outcomes for the project. They have maybe different activities and tasks as well that they want you to handle. How are you able to prioritize certain tasks or activities and deprioritize on other ones? Which ones will you take as relevant for your project? And if there are issues among what you should do between the stakeholders, how do you basically resolve them? You remember that in the first videos that I made when I started this channel, I spoke about one of the skills that a project manager needs to have. And in those skills, one of the things was conflict resolution. As a project manager, negotiation and conflict resolution is a skill you need to possess, because even amongst your team members who are also part of your stakeholders, you're going to have conflicts with them, and you'd always need to find a way to manage those conflicts. Now, how do you manage conflict between stakeholders? In my own experience, I've only worked with stakeholders who have collaborated twice or thrice, let me say, but every single time I've basically worked with maybe one funder or one investor at a time for each project that I run. And then in other times I have to work with like different stakeholders. Maybe there's the media, there's the communities, there's the local chiefs, and all of these persons. And every single person sometimes we need to deliver projects in like a different way that they'll be able to take ownership and engage with. One very favorite example of mine would be the Urban Rifle project, and this was a project we undertook, I think started in 2020. It was a 2-year project. So in this project, basically, we had to work with community heads, we had to work with some emergency management organizations as well, because we were working with the internally displaced camps. And there were a lot of things happening with this project because we needed to fulfill loads of obligation. There was the school aspect where we had to sponsor people to school as well. That funding was coming from a different stakeholder, from a different founder. And then we have the people who were providing us funding basically to do the larger part of the project, like some of the activities that we needed to do. And those sponsoring the kids to school basically wanted it to be a certain way. There were certain rules that were implicating the project in a certain way. And the other funders also wanted us to meet certain targets that kind of like were conflicting with these other ones. How did we handle this situation? So the first thing in my own experience I did was I was able to call a meeting of all of our stakeholders together, because this was under one particular project. So we needed to have a discussion as to what is the overall goal and mission and vision for this particular project that we're running. What will be the success criteria for this project? So when you're designing a project, at the end of the day, there should be a success criteria for you. What would this project accomplish for you to say it's successful? So for one person, it could be that your project reaches up to 10 people, and that's a success criteria for you. So it doesn't matter if people are like, oh, this project is not successful because they weren't able to meet 50 people. When you were setting up your criteria, 10 people was the standard that you set up, based on whatever knowledge that you had and how basically you guys wanted to implement that particular project. So when you've set your success criteria, you want to look at that with your stakeholders again. What is the success criteria? What are the impacts? What are the outcomes at the end of the day? What do you want to accomplish with this project? What activities can you let go of that this project will still be able to, you're still able to maximize the result of your project? What are some of the things that even if you don't do them, the project is still going to go on and deliver on the impacts that it needs to deliver on? So by the time you've put all of those things in perspective, you already are looking at what should you prioritize? What are the things you're deprioritizing? And some of the reasons why these conflicting issues can come in is maybe due to budget, due to time constraints and all of that. So if you want to implement a project and there's issue with your budgeting and your stakeholders have issues as to monies to put into the different activities, at this point you're basically looking at what will be the project, what will be the project activity that you deprioritize but still gives you the end result that you had wanted for this project. All of those things, you just write them down. So these are things that you can still accomplish if the budget permits, but for your project to be successful, these are the 5 key activities that you cannot do away with. So when you have that in mind already, it's then easy for you to actually negotiate with your stakeholders, resolve conflict between them, because you're like, we can actually let go of this thing based on what has been said, but this is the thing that we cannot really let go of. So we have to work using this particular thing, and that's how you're able to like start resolving those issues. You're able to hold communication, hold meetings, discuss some of these things as well together, and by that you're able to just say, come on the common ground and say, because this is the mission and vision and what we want for this project, this is how we should do about it. And then you explain this to every single one of your stakeholders in a language that they all understand, so everybody gets it, that it's not just about you prioritizing one stakeholder over another one. You're prioritizing the things that you would do for the project that will make it successful. And if every stakeholder, one particular thing they all want is for the project to be successful, so they are able to now come together and listen to you and maybe take into measurement what it is that needs to be done for that particular project to be successful. You also want to ensure that you're listening to every single person. So for this, it could be within maybe your team members. This person has the way they implement projects. This person has the way they communicate, maybe project meetings, project status updates, and all of that. You want to have a discussion to ensure that you're putting everybody's lessons learned, everybody's experience and skill and knowledge in perspective. So you're not shutting anyone out. So by the time you've listened to everybody, you're able to now explain bit by listening to everybody and understanding where they are coming from. You're able to now share the perspective from your own project management angle, and then they're able to now key into it to say, oh, so it's not about me per person, it's about the project, and this is what will be good for this project, and you're able to like handle that conflict. Different persons, like I always say, project managers are different, so every single person will have like a different way they handle issues. But for me, this is how I've handled issues before, and it turned out well. So you could use this skill or use any other method as well, and hopefully you're able to resolve that conflict. So our second question is, how do you make sure your project is visible? Okay, so how do you make sure your project is visible? For me, I would say, when I first started project management, designing events, designing projects and all of that, the first things I did was, at first it was a discussion I was having, right? I didn't even have like a social media channel or any of that. So it was just myself and a group of friends who started creating programs and inviting people. So the first thing we did then was we started having conversations with other people. We created flyers, we spoke to people a lot, any person who cared to listen, about this is the event we're having, this is why we're having this event, this is why it's crucial. And we started inviting all of these people here. We started telling them to use hashtags on social media as well about like the events that they were attending. But at this point, like I said, we didn't have like an organizational social media channel and all of that. So people knew, close people knew what we're doing, but a majority of the people that we now have as our supporters didn't exactly know what we're doing. So what ensured and gave visibility to our project basically was that we opened social media pages. We have an Instagram page, we have Facebook, we have Twitter accounts. We started using podcasts as well. And then on all of this platform, we started basically sharing documentaries about some of the works that we're doing. So you want to document your memories, you want to document your journey, the places you're going to, your beneficiaries, your participants, the works you're doing. You want to share behind the scene of what your project is like. And then for me, I think I started out also sharing on my own personal platform. I was always sharing about mistakes that I've made. I was sharing about projects that I was involved in, how impactful they were, the people were meeting with, my colleagues, talking about them. And gradually people started knowing what I was doing. People knew what I was into. And gradually, like, the audience started growing, visibility started for my own personal page, because people needed a place to connect with. So they first connected with me. So by the time we created our social media pages, it was easy to just drive people's attention there as well and say, oh, if you want to know more about us, go to our website, go to this part and all of that. We created website, imputed all of our different projects on that website as well. So if you wanted to know about the Ivy project, you just go on our website, type Ivy, and you read everything about Ivy, all the resources that we share and all of that. And then we're also now having a lot of online meetings gradually. So Google Meet, using Zoom to hold sessions with people. We're doing Instagram Live, we're doing Facebook Live. We even have a Facebook section section where we do book reads every Tuesday. So all of these kind of things have made our project really visible. But like I said, sharing is really what helps. Documenting your journeys and sharing them out, not hiding all of the things that you're doing in or keeping it on a low key. So I've been able to like share all of this on a really large scale. If I meet friends, any space I go to, I'm able to talk about the work that I'm doing. Conferences and workshops, I've been able to apply for some of those opportunities as well. And I met like investors, founders, and in all of these spaces, I always find time to talk about what our organization does. That's the Samuel Ioron Foundation. When I joined the One Campaign in the UK, I saw that One Campaign is already like a really, really popular organization. Everybody knows the One Campaign and all of that. But there were certain persons in maybe local communities that didn't know about what One Campaign is or the work that we're doing. So what we did then was I spoke to the organization. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm into content creation. I do little bits of this. So maybe if we get a camera, it will really work well. We're able to take pictures of some of the projects that we do, some of these activities, and we're able to showcase them on our socials. And I just gradually started taking pictures of events we do, workshops we do, showing our activists and all of that, posting on our social media platform. I share on my own platform as well, and then share on the organizational platform. But people then know the work that I do here in the UK as well, and the organization I'm affiliated with, and they also see the works and the campaigns that the organization is involved with. The reason why that is because we're documenting the journeys, we're documenting the processes, we're taking pictures, we have videos, we have surveys, we have testimonials from activists who share about the work that they are doing, and then we're able to post some of these things out there and people see them. So this is how you're able to put the visibility of your project out there. You're also able to use mainstream media, basically put your project on a newspaper, local newspapers. You're able to go on TV interviews. You're also able to use maybe newsletters, because those are some of the tools that I use as well, and then podcasts. So when you also attend events like facilitating, supporting other organizations, you're able to put your project on the roadmap. So I hope that you're able to pick one or two things from here that you're also able to implement in your project. So the third question is how to pitch your project. What tools should you use? Okay, how to pitch your project. I love talking. So I think for me, one of the easiest ways I pitch my project is to have a conversation with someone about it. They always do in sections, they tell you, pitch your project in 1 minute or pitch your project in 2 minutes. So when you have an idea about something you want to do, I would always advise people already try to create a template as to what is the objective of this particular thing? What is the problem you're trying to solve? What is the solution? One statement, not something so long. What is the key thing? What is the pain point you're trying to give people a solution on? And when you put that on your Jamboard, you put that on your maybe Google slide, or you're using PowerPoint, you're just able to write what that particular thing is and how you're able to like solve that problem. What do you have, like your value proposition that other people don't have? So when you're able to show the difference between A and B, basically, people are able to see value for what you're given. So when it comes to project managing, you see that a lot of people are project managers as well. We have them a lot, just like you have a lot of lawyers. But there's a reason why someone would decide to pay this particular lawyer against paying this particular one. It will be based on maybe works done, experiences, skills, and all of that you've seen. So you want somebody to see again why your project is better than this person's project. Because when you're also competing or applying for grants, maybe 150 organizations are applying for that same grant you're applying for. So why should this particular organization pick your project against this particular one? So what you're delivering has to be different from what somebody else is actually delivering as well. The way maybe you've propositioned that your project is able to deliver impact to this person. What is the long-term sustainability for this particular project? You have some amazing ideas and there's no sustainability plan to it. So you want to ensure that your project, when pitching it, you have a sustainability plan to it. So one key thing is when you've documented every single time when you have an idea about something, is that at the back of your head. When you meet someone in the lift, when you meet somebody on the bus, you should always be ready to talk about what you're doing, and that's how you pitch it. Now, one very funny story about that, like I always said, what launched us into starting to get maybe like grants for the organization was, there was a question on LinkedIn, and this person was the head of an organization here in not here in the UK, in Nigeria, back where I'm from. And he asked a question, and it was concerning gender. And I answered that question and I asked the further question. So he picked interest and was like, oh, you asked this particular question. It shows that you have knowledge in this topic and you're really interested in something like this. And I was like, oh yes. He's like, do you have a project you can pitch to me? I was like, sure. And at that point, that was when I had the idea for the Ivy project, which was kind of like debasing and trying to campaign against child marriage in Nigeria at the time. So I'm like, I'm trying to campaign against child marriage. This is what I want to do. I want to talk to people about the struggles of child brides, basically from that perspective, and get community leaders, parents, to understand the harm that is done on brides, child brides, when they get into early marriage and how it disrupts education, basically. And he was like, oh wow, I would like to listen to your project more. Can you travel and come to pitch this in our office? And that was how I was able to travel, and then I was able to pitch that to them as well. The pitch was, I didn't need to do a presentation. I was asked certain questions. So you want to know exactly what it is you're doing. What are the objectives of your project? At the end of the day, what's the impact you want this project of yours to create, to bring? And even for business, it's the same thing. If you want to start a pure water business, why do you want to start a pure water business? What is it going to help, like, change? What solution is that going to bring to the problem that you want it to solve? So when I shared that, basically, I was able to get that grant. And that was the first of so many grants that have come in. That was on LinkedIn. So you can meet a founder or investor anywhere. You just need to be able to show the passion and knowledge for that particular thing that it is you have and you want to do. There are several tools that you can use for this. Like I shared, Google Slides, PowerPoint. You can use the business model canvas as well. They already have a lot of things on there where you're able to put what the problem is, the solution, your value proposition, who your target audience is, your beneficiaries, what your costing and finance is, and all of those kind of things. So once you have all of that, that is that. So this is one key way for you to pitch your project to people, share it and all of that. And the last question we have here is, how do I create a vision board? Wow! I've spoken about vision board recently on socials, and I was saying I was going to be delivering a vision board class in the first week of December. Now, as a project manager, I get to work on a lot of projects, sometimes with different organizations, with my own non-profit as well, and all of that. And you need to prioritize, like I mentioned earlier. So when the start of the year comes in, before the year ends, and I'm moving, like in 2022, I designed my vision board for 2023. So in trying to do that, I kind of like designed what 2023 looked like for me, the things I wanted to accomplish, what I wanted to do in the first quarter, in the second quarter, and in the third quarter, and how I wanted to do some of those things. Is it travel? Is it taking a course? Or any of those kind of things at all? Like, what was it I wanted to do? So I was able to put all of this in a vision board. Every single month I write out from my vision board some of the goals that I wanted to accomplish. So this and this is some of the things that I want to do. These are the things that I can't do at the end of the day that I would leave out of maybe for that particular section. And then I have an accountability partner, so I get to share with her, oh, so for the month of March, these are the things I want to be able to accomplish, and all of those kind of things. So with that, at the end of the day, I'm able to do a reflective journey to see the kind of things that I've been able to do for the year from my vision board. And some of these things are able to like help you just reflect on your journey about, oh, I've done this, I've done this. These are some of the things that I can't do, that I can carry them over to the next year. So your vision board is like a roadmap for you as to giving you insight, the things you want to be able to put yourself into. If it's you being into more project managing, you being into more attending of events and all of those kind of things, then you want to write, how do you want to assess some of these opportunities? What do you want to do for them, and all of those kind of things. So vision boarding is a really personal, reflective process that you take on, and it's something that I really love doing, and I advise a lot of people to do. In the past, I've used Jamboard to do that, and for this year we're going to be learning how to do that using the Jamboard and Miro as well, especially because Google is kind of like closing down on Jamboard in 2024. So it's good for us to already start using new tools. So if you're interested in the vision board class, I'm going to share more on that. But you can also go to my website, www.Ngunan.com, and I'm going to share more on how you can register and join our vision board section for December. So we can start planning for 2024. So if you're interested in that, just check my social media platforms and keep your notifications on for the updates on that. So these are the only questions that I answered today. If there are more questions you want to see me answer, you can put that in the comment section or send a message to me with your questions, and I'll try to answer them in my next video. Until next time again, I remain your favorite project manager, Ngunan. See you next time.